peek.
Welcome to the Modern Miss Mason party. The book is launched and we are so glad that you're here. We are here with a room full of people on Zoom and we're also on the Facebook page. We did start without you. I'm sorry. We answered one question, which you can find out the answer for in the introduction of the book. Greta's first question was, how did you meet Charlotte Mason? And if you've listened to my podcast and you can read the introduction, in fact, you can read it. I think you can read it for free on Kindle or something on Amazon. So we're sorry we started without you. We got very excited, but I'm going to hand back over to Greta, who is going to, we are going to keep going because we are professional.
That's right. We are.
Look at that. That was slick. Give us all a wave. I think we should let's raise our cups to fixing mistakes. Yes.
There we go.
There we go.
I think it's a perfect example of what homeschooling is really like, is that sometimes you start and then you realize, oh, we need to start again.
Absolutely. I always talk about pivot or pause. Like we need to pause and do this differently. So do you want to repeat your question for the audience at hand?
Yes. So the first question I asked was, how did Yulia come to know Charlotte? And she reminded me that you can find the answer to that question in Walking with Charlotte, the very start of her book, the introduction. And I love that. I love the title because, oh my gosh, Walking with Charlotte, it just felt like, yes, that's what you've been doing, and you know her and you love her and she's like a friend. And I really felt that as I read your book. And so that led me to my next question, which was, how did you then take all of Charlotte's philosophies and ideas and the things that you loved so much about her educational philosophy and decide, like, I want to start sharing this with other people? It obviously meant so much to you that you wanted to start sharing. How did that begin? What did it look like?
So from the beginning of from homeschooling, right at the beginning, I think even before that, when I had young children, everyone was getting into blogging, and I had this blog. Some of you might have been around for a while. You might remember this. I don't even know if it's still there. So I'm gonna say what it is, and some of you probably will go off and Google it. It was called Homegrown Babies, and I can see you writing it down. Do not look. Googling. It was called Homegrown Babies, and if it is still there, I can't remember if it's still there, but they're very, very early pictures and stories and even some recipes, which is hilarious for me, of me sharing, trying out the blogosphere. But so I love communication. I do love communicating, and I've always, been kind of a speaker and doing that kind of stuff. And so about, I don't know, I must have been 6 or 7 years into my home educating journey. So I'd got a good grasp on it by then. It was still early days really, but I got a good grasp on it. This app was launched called Periscope, which I know, and I can see Tracy nodding because she was probably there with that. And this is where I met people like Julie Bogarts, the early days of her kind of getting her voice out. I mean, I met, it was great really. And Periscope was, I think, one of the first video apps where you could go live on video and just do stuff. And this was the stage where my children were having a regular nap or rest time.
Yes.
Every single day. Do you remember those, Greta, when they actually were quiet for a little bit in the day?
Yeah, I do.
And I was, really kind of had this lovely rhythm of schooling in the morning, rest time, and then going out for a walk in the afternoon. I did all that. And so I can't believe I did this, but on a Tuesday and a Thursday, I would go live, not for too long, but I would go live on Periscope and just started sharing. I think I called it the Charlotte Mason Show. Check me out. And and I started sharing about how we implemented this philosophy into our home. And what I didn't realize, because if it's so different today, you Google Charlotte Mason or you go on the hashtag on Instagram, and there is so much on there that it's either completely overwhelming or it immediately strikes this kind of, this is how you must do it. Now, I didn't
Right.
have any of that. I didn't have that comparison game, which is amazing, really. I was just reading the books and then trying to do it.
Right.
And I didn't have anything to kind of measure it. I just loved it. I found delight in it. My children were growing and thriving, and, all that was happening. And so I started sharing about it. Now, a little bit into this time, a lovely lady who lives in Devon called Jo. I don't know if she's on here or she's watching. Hi, Jo. And I will always tell her that, Dave Bowden has put my blog. Dave Bowden, you monkey.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, if you missed it in the chat, Dave, lovely Dave.
Oh, lovely
I
Dave.
feel like is my best friend, even though we've never met in person.
Yeah, you are.
To the
Look
old
at that. It has a lovely recipe
right
for
now. Don't go there right now.
Don't go. Do not leave us. They're all looking in the chat, like copying and pasting it. Put it in your browser for later. Okay, I'm just gonna be all out. I mean, the book's out there. Let's just go for it. You can all see my early life, but you might enjoy it. So Jo said I was doing this Periscope, and she put in the comments, she's just like, "You're like the modern Miss Mason," and it's the first time I'd ever heard like someone like phrase it like that, and it wasn't like He wasn't like a moment of, oh, this is me. It was immediately, it was like that phrase speaks of who we are, who we all are, and what we're about. And so I just kind of was like, I'm going to take that. I remember Dave was like, oh, that's got a cool ring to it. And we just started to share, and then Facebook started to become a thing. And, it just was so slow and so gradual, and just sharing a little bit here and there. And I guess what feeds a movement is feedback and encouragement, and people saying, this is making a difference to me. And I started using that phrase, let's find our freedom in the philosophy. And what I was finding is that it was kind of coming up. I was talking to homeschool mums who were trying to implement what they thought they saw was right within the CharlotteMason philosophy. So I talk in the book about trying not to use words like should and must. And there was a lot of that going on, like it must look like this. And I was saying the opposite, like, well, what does your family look like first? What is the culture you live in? What resources are available to you? That has to come first, and obviously, like Charlotte says, children are born persons. You have to observe your children. And so this is how it grew and developed. And I started doing courses on Facebook, and it just kind of slowly grew from there. It wasn't at all some kind of overnight thing. It wasn't just some idea that I thought this will be amazing, let's do it all in one go. It really has been this beautiful growth with a community who I am incredibly grateful. I mean, if any of you have looked in the acknowledgements in the back of the book, that was a really emotional piece to write, which sounds weird because like most people will like do that really quickly at the end, but I wanted to name all of you. I wanted to put all your names in there. I was like, these are the people I really want. And now I'm getting emotional. These are the people I want. These are the people I want to thank, because we've done this together. And you share these ideas. I talk about this in the kinship chapter. Like, it's about community. We cannot do this alone. I've learned so much from our UK community, from the community on Facebook and Instagram, and coming to conferences like Wild and Free or running my own stuff here. We do it together. And so that is the story of the modern Miss Mason. If you want to call it a brand or whatever it is, but it is the heart of a community. Yeah. And it's a movement, a community, whatever. But it's been a joy. And to get to this point, and a few of you, I can see your faces on here tonight. You've been there from the beginning. You've probably seen the Homegrown Babies blog, and that moves me, that we've done this together. We've kind of grown up on the internet, haven't we? Doing these things together. That was a long-winded answer, wasn't it, Greta?
That's why we're here. We want.
I know.
We want all the long-winded answers. But that is one of the things that I love about this book and just about all that you offer, is that it isn't something that you just started like last year and suddenly you're the expert. I mean, this has been something you've lived. And again, that's why I love that walking with Charlotte, because it's like, that's what the whole book is about. It's about how you have been doing, it was attractive to you. This idea, this philosophy, and this lifestyle was attractive to you from the time your kids were babies. And now you have children that are grown adults. Yep. Now that makes me emotional.
I know.
Because you've lived, you walked along the way, and you've seen the things that are beautiful and that work, and you've seen the things that are hard, but they work, and then they're therefore worth the effort. And I think that is so valuable to moms and dads who are choosing home education, because it allows them to see wherever they're at in the process. If they're just getting started, they're like, okay, she has walked this path and has stuck with it because it is, it works, it's beautiful, it's meaningful, it's life-changing and life-giving.
Yeah.
Or if you're farther along down the road, it can be like a pat on the back, like, yes, keep going, you're doing a good job. I mean, that's how I felt when I read the book. I have an 18-year-old. I've been homeschooling since he was a baby. I was homeschooled. I believe in home education. But I still felt, when I read this, like I felt inspired and excited, and there were new ideas, but also it was so encouraging to just feel like, yes, I'm doing a good job. I am doing the right thing for my family. Yes. And so it just makes your book so, it's such a vital read for anybody, whatever stage they're at. In case you were wondering how I feel about it. Now you
Thanks, Greta.
But I want to talk too, because I think that this is an interesting part of being a homeschooling mom who writes a book, that that a lot of other homeschooling moms, we're creative people. Like, we love to make and do things. And I think homeschooling is an incredibly creative act. And like you, when you first started, a lot of us want to share what we're doing, and maybe even share it in the form of writing a book like you've done. So can you tell us a little bit about what it was like for you to be a homeschooling mom and write a book at the same time? You can tell us some highs, you can tell us some lows, you can tell us things that surprised you. Just give us a peek of what it was like.
Yeah, well, it is, as lots of you know, you've been waiting a long time for this book, because I announced it. I always say it's like the longest pregnancy announcement ever. Like, this is coming. It's really coming. It is happening. And we had COVID in the middle of all that, obviously. But the idea, I think sometimes you have a seed of an idea, and then when you're in the right company and community, that seed grows, because people are encouraging you, like, hey, you're going to write a book. And even, being around people like Greta and some of our mutual friends were starting to feel this sense of, okay, we've been sharing for a while, let's put something out that actually people is tangible, you can have it in your hand, it doesn't require you to go on social media, it doesn't require you to travel across states and countries to be at a conference. It's yours, it's in your hand, and these words are yours. And so that began to happen, that seed. And it's, the publishing world is like, I can't even start to go there. It's just a different, but I knew I had this idea, and people were starting to encourage me in that. And so I won't go into the whole story of finding an agent, but I found an agent who is amazing, Joy, and she's American. She lives in Paris. So I knew I wanted somebody who was reasonably in the same continent, is quite helpful. And she is as a mother of young children, and we basically met on Zoom just before COVID, actually, and just before the whole shutdown started. And I was brand new to all this. I'd sent her a few notes and I just shared with her that my passion and this idea and my story. And she just was like, this needs to be heard. I want to help you get this out. And we're just coming up to that being 3 years ago.
Oh,
So
I
these things
remember when it was happening.
Oh yeah, I tell Greta everything, so she knows all the press. So that I know, and isn't that 3 years? I mean, you kind of see the book in your hand, and it's just yesterday was the thrill of yesterday, but it's been part of my life. I've journeyed with these words. I mean, I've journeyed with the story for 20 years, but the actual getting this out has been a 3-year journey, which is just huge. But I don't know if I'd do it any differently. I don't know if I'd want to shorten that process, because the forming of the words is one thing, but then it's the editing, isn't it? And the kind of the shared that conversation with the publishers around, hey, what about this, and shape it this way and do it that. And it's almost like so my youngest daughter and I are learning about our artist study at the moment is Barbara Hepworth, who is was a sculptor. She's died. And she she was born in my hometown in Wakefield in Yorkshire, and she worked in Cornwall. So there's lots of connection there for me. And I've been reading more about her. She's amazing. But just that whole, she said, she talks about loving having all this marble and all these kind of raw bits of stone stored in her warehouse. Seeing the rawness of them excited her about what it could become. And I think that's what I felt at the beginning. I remember writing some notes about feeling like, okay, this is the beginning. I feel everything I feel. I've been sharing this stuff for years. And it was like a lump of marble in a warehouse. Like, I can see it. I can see what it could become, but I've got to put a lot of work in to get it into people's hands and to make sure it's understandable and it's beautiful and it's clear and it's and that's what I started to do, and it's all in the fringe hours, isn't it, Greta? It's late at night, it's weekends, it's early in the morning, it's going to Victoria's farm cottages in the Lake District and saying, I'm just going to take a week. And it was in May and it was snowing in the Lake District. Do you remember, Victoria? It was snowing. I was like, snow in May? Where have I come? But it was so wonderful just people think often about writing, like you go off to a cabin and you write this whole novel and it's very romantic and glamorous. It's not. Most of the time it's not, but I got that little bit of space where it was just. So the chapter on nature study, I actually wrote that in the Lake District. So, and I remember reading it on the Audible book, and I could take myself back there to the farm and remember what I was feeling looking out onto the hills and seeing the chickens and the swallows coming and sitting on the wire. And I could feel it again, and that comes into the reading. So that whole process was mostly late nights, mostly kind of cramming it the weekends, holidays, like over the summer break when we weren't homeschool, I was like, get it done, get it done, get it done. And then working with an amazing editor, amazing. She was homeschooled herself. She was American. So we may have missed a few, but it's mostly British spelling. Mostly. I think it's difficult to get every single one, but I was like, I need it to be British spelling. But we'd come across phrases where she just would have no clue what I was talking about. And it's because it was just like a really British phrase. And so we had to find this middle ground between, okay, it needs to be understood and cross-cultural. And so that was interesting, hitting stuff like that. But yeah, and COVID slowed it down. So it was supposed to come out in the autumn. And but as lots of you will know, this month marks the centenary of CharlotteMason's death. So it's 100 years since her death. So this is the perfect timing. And so it's not it's not glamorous, but it is a privilege. It really is. And I never tired of it. I don't feel tired of it now. I am very passionate about the pages in this book, and I'm just so grateful that I've had the opportunity to do it.
We're grateful that you did it, despite working late at night and trying to say, can I have the morning on
I know.
Saturday, when I used to like say, oh, I'll have the morning to sleep in because dad's home and he can take
Yes.
it. And instead it's like, okay, I have the morning, I'll write.
Yeah.
Which, is a treat, and it feels like magical, but it's also hard work. It's
Yes.
just, and I think that that's the reality of anything that's worth doing, is that it is something special and it feels like a delight, but it also, it's hard work. The
Yeah.
things that matter the most are they require something of us. I wanted to
Absolutely.
say real fast, because we said it at the beginning before we started recording, but it bears repeating, that if you guys have any questions
Yes.
that you want to ask Leah, pop them in the chat. And she is going to do a Q&A here at the end. And if there's anything that you want to know, feel free to ask in there. And you can just ask away. We really want to hear your questions. And we want to know also I want to know, and I'm sure everybody else here, what are your plans on taking the book, and going out? Because I know you have some opportunities to share the book, not just online, which is very exciting.
Yes.
Because, there are a lot of people that we only get to interact with you online, but it's so thrilling to meet in person. So tell me a little bit about your book tour, because I want to know some more about it.
Yeah. And, this is just a massive delight. And it was such a priority to me. Apparently, it's quite like an old fashioned thing now to do book tours, but I'm an old fashioned girl. So I will go with the book tour. And the beauty of living here in the UK is that you can just, drive around in my Vauxhall Zafira with a boot full of books and some kind of roll banner, and I can come meet people. And that is so important to me, that I get to have a cup of tea with people who are reading the book and who are raising kids, and mums who we're all, going through so many different phases of motherhood, and just to come alongside and encourage is really, really important to me. So that's mostly going to be happening here in the UK. Some of the so the places, a lot of the places are up on my website already. So I know next month I start in Birkenhead, then I'm going, not Birkenhead, that's not yet, that's not till the summer actually. I'm starting in Wiltshire, and then I'm going to Leicestershire, and I'm basically driving, everything's like a couple of hours. And then in April I'm in Northern Ireland. I'm going to go as far as, I think, far down as like Devon, and then as far north as Tyne and Wear. I'll be in Leeds, and I'm just going to drive around every other weekend. So the one in between is absolutely for my family, and sometimes I'll bring family and friends along. And I'm going to be trying to hit as many places as possible. I'm definitely in the Lake District twice. I think I'm in there a couple of times. I'm doing a signing at the Armit Museum in Ambleside. And they blew me away yesterday. It was quite like, again, so many emotional moments, but just kind of really humbling that the Armits, so the manager there, Faye, she's wonderful and doing such great things for the legacy of CharlotteMason, as well as everything else there in Ambleside in the Lake District. I sent her a couple of copies of the book actually, and she's put one in the library alongside Charlotte's books. I was like I was telling Dave, like, we were on the phone, he was driving home, and I'm like, he's put it in the library. I'm like, the good job I didn't wear much mascara yesterday. Honestly, it was crazy. But that just was, I actually just saying it now is just, whoa, what a privilege. I can't, like, sit alongside, those books. And that's amazing. So I can't wait to go there and do a signing. I'm up there a few times. There's various things going on because it's the centenary.
I didn't know that story, and that just
isn't that amazing, Greta?
To walk in and to see your book there, like, I'm crying for you. That's just
it's so incredible.
Because to see your book in a bookstore, like, that feels like a very big deal. But to see your book there with in a place that is CharlotteMason's and all about her work and celebrating what she's done, to see your book there.
Yeah,
That's a
I
big
know.
deal. Congratulations.
I know. Thank you. And then the other really exciting thing, which is fresh, hot off the press, is that I'm coming to California. So in April, this is all like literally the past few days. So in April, Wild and Free are in, say the name of the town, because I still haven't got it in my head, Greta. San Luis
Obispo.
Obispo.
San
Luis Obispo. I thought our places were hard to say for, like, you know, for Americans, but San Luis Obispo, which is apparently this beautiful little town, 4.5 hours drive from the LA area. I'm figuring out the geography. So Greta and I are going to be coasting down the coast. We're going to be driving down the coast together to that conference, which would be amazing. But we are planning to have nearer where Greta lives, which is kind of just outside of LA. We're planning to have a book tour stop. So we'll have a different event just for the book. So if you are in that area, and I know obviously this recording is going up onto YouTube and all sorts. So please go over to my website. There isn't anything up there yet. It's all coming, it's all forming. But we'll be inviting you very soon. So yeah. And then the kind of tour and all the stuff really finishes on the 1st of July here in Warwickshire, where I have the Modern Miss Mason conference. And so I've got an amazing conference plan. It's just a day conference. Again, the tickets are actually live on the website, even though I haven't publicized that yet, because, you know, yesterday was quite a big day yesterday. And the exciting thing is, for the first time, we are doing a streaming ticket. So wherever you are in the world, you'll be able to watch the conference as well. And that's a brand new thing. So if you can go and grab your ticket now, but I will be telling everyone about that at the end of this week. So, and then who knows what the rest of the year will look like. But my part of what I'm doing this year, alongside family traveling with me and friends and whatever opportunities come, is just to come and meet people and come and sit alongside, hear stories, share stories, and encourage and thank people for buying the book, for reading the book, for spurring me on all the way. And so there'll be a lot of tears all year, I'm sure. I'm quite a crier. I've realized that. I mean, look at me.
All that. I think I really cried at least 3 times just in this. So, but you know what? Tears are wonderful, because tears are sign of it shows that you have deep feelings, feelings of joy, feelings of excitement, feelings that it's emotional, it's striking a chord. So yeah, we're not afraid of tears.
Not at all.
Yeah. Although next time I do an interview with you, I will have a tissue on hand.
Sorry.
Oh man. Leah, I am a terrible host because I don't even know how long we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, let me just have a little look. So we were planning on going for about an hour. So if there are any questions, guys, I can't believe here it's 7:43. So time is ticking along. Shall I read a little bit out, Greta?
I would love you to read some. Do you? Okay.
Do you have a bit you want me to read?
No, I would love for you to pick a part that is your favorite, because it's always interesting to me when authors have a section that they love. Because I don't know, it just feels like you have clearly the most personal relationship with your words. So I'm always excited to hear from an author a part that is extra meaningful to them.
Okay.
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
No, not at all. No, I've got bits here. I'm just, when you said favorite part, I've got a few. Whilst I'm doing that, I can't see any questions in the chat. People are being shy, but please, I mean, I don't know if anybody can see on the Facebook page if there are any questions up there, but you don't have to. I mean, no pressure, guys. But if you do want to get involved, she'll put the pressure on.
You're not asking questions, we're taking notes, and you might not be
I'm just trying to find the bit. Just give me a moment.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay, I'm gonna read this bit. All right.
Okay.
So this is from Becoming Intellectually Alive, which is a big thing about, I talk about this a lot. Chapter 10. You can read along if you want, if you have the book. And this section is called Mothers Who Water Their Own Gardens.
Oh, yeah. I'm just ready to soak it in. You guys, if you I'm sorry, you're ready to read and I'm going to talk. But I love that you read your own audiobook, because getting to hear you speak your own words that you wrote, I just feel like, okay, I'm ready to just let it just soak in. So everybody just take a deep breath. We're going to get ready to enjoy Leah reading to us.
Thank you. Mothers Who Water Their Own Gardens. My parents recently entrusted the watering of their garden to me whilst they took a trip to the south of England during an English August heatwave. I loved the simplicity of being responsible for a short-term garden project and carried out my hosepipe chores dutifully. As I was circling the outskirts of their garden, I noticed a small turquoise hand-decorated wooden bench that I hadn't taken much notice of before. As my eyes traced the beautiful stenciling of a bee's shape, I suddenly recognized my mother's handwriting in the corner. She had scribed a garden poem entitled Dreams Come True, and at the end used the tag Patricia's Poems. This simple act of creativity made me smile, but it also drew me to consider again her love of lifelong learning. I have seen her demonstrate her signature learning style, not just on this scribbled garden bench, but in every aspect of her life. My mother is a reader, not necessarily of Shakespeare, Homer, or Tolstoy. She reads to lean into her creativity and curiosity. I have watched as she reads poetry, biographies, and classic tales of love, turmoil, and intrigue. She takes classes to learn new handcraft skills and encourages others to do so as well. She supports artists and small businesses by buying their crafts and displaying them with pride in her home. She makes, bakes, writes, and creates, and yet she has never been to university, never written a dissertation, never sat through an academic lecture. When I look at her bench and look at her life, I can see she is fully and most definitely intellectually alive. Just as I have watched my mother over many years, I'm reminded that my children are watching me. I'm always challenged by what they will uncover about me. Charlotte's message of mastering intellectual vitality inspires me to develop curiosity, hunger, and the spirit of investigation. For me, this is often done in small bites that keep me eager for more. Each paragraph read, poem heard, or masterpiece viewed will sow another seed of curiosity. Just as we daily serve up the feast of education in our children's lives, so can we cultivate the discipline to allow ourselves time and space to engage our minds with higher thinking. The more we do, just a few minutes a day, the more we'll grow in interest and the capacity to consume more. We need only read short excerpts from Anna Karenina, hear a section of Hamlet's soliloquy, walk briefly down a virtual gallery in Tate Britain, or take a minute to be captivated by a picture of Monet's water lilies. Magical moments of mother learning takes us on a journey of connection with thinkers and creators. We are not engaging with thought and creativity to merely become better teachers. We're engaging because we too are born persons worthy of input, enrichment, and fascination. We can add to the dialogue, lean into new possibilities, and continue our learning journey way beyond our children's learning journey or learning years. Made a mistake right at the end. Oh.
I love that part. Yeah, I think it's so powerful to think about how we look to our mothers, our fathers, or other people in our life who have inspired us, and we've watched them from the time we were children, and then to think about our kids watching us. And we want our kids to be lifelong learners, but we have to model that for them, right?
Right.
And I think that is a fantastic segue to a question that is in the chat that said, somebody wants to know, how do your children feel about you writing this book, specifically, or especially the younger two? And I think, like I said, that is connected to this idea of being a lifelong learner, because writing a book is part of that process.
Right.
So how has your family and your children specifically, how have they responded to you writing a book?
Yeah, great question. So I have been super vigilant and probably overly like asking them, are you sure you're okay with this? Are you sure you're okay? And we were joking in the car last night. My family took me out for dinner, and my 18-year-old son hasn't read it. He wants to read it or listen to it. And my husband was joking with him and saying, like, I'd put all these like stories of him being like misbehaving and all this kind of stuff in it. But which I know he's just a monkey. And I knew that, there's not tons of like name mentions, there's a few in there, but I had their full permission to, if I wanted to use their names, I wasn't going to. And even the editors were like, are you sure I was like, well, they said absolutely yes. And I also recognize if they were younger, I just wouldn't have, because they can change their mind when they're older. But all I can say is that they have been incredibly encouraging, and they have just shown that they're super proud of me, and it's been really emotional. I mean, if people saw, my eldest daughter doesn't live with us anymore. She lives in Cornwall, and she posted on her Instagram yesterday a picture of her and I, just said some beautiful words about legacy, and she is, she's our eldest children are like guinea pigs, aren't they? She's the one who's kind of, I was trying all these ideas out and just showing her pride. And my youngest, who's nearly 12, I'm hoping she won't mind me sharing this story. It's a nice thing she did. She came into this room where I sat yesterday. We'd been reading together and doing stuff, and she just said, she sat kind of at my level and said, turn around and look at me. I was like, okay. She's like, no, look at me. And she took her hands in my hands. So she's like 12 years old, nearly 12. I know. Sorry, we're all gonna be weeping now. Woo! And she took her hands in my hands and looked at me, and she was like, she said something like, she definitely said, I'm so proud of you. This is going to be amazing. And it was just like, she gave me a huge hug. And just at that age, to see the vastness of this, but also see the normality of it in our everyday life. Yesterday was so normal at home, but yet she just felt, she knew this is a big deal. And she takes the book, she picks it up every so often. She comes and sits in here, and she's like, where's the bit that talks about, I want to live in a world where electricians know Shakespeare? And she knows that line, because that bit is about my kids. That bit is about, and so I open it up, the book, and I have to read it to her, or she reads it out, And so that, I mean, honestly, all I've felt from them is encouragement, and they're proud of the stories. They're proud of our journey. They're proud of our life. And it's not ending, this is just part. I've only been a parent 20 years. That's nothing compared to some people. This is the beginning of this book coming into the world, and our family growing and taking shape. But, I've been really careful. Like, I don't speak about parenting. I don't talk about that in the book, because I'm still very much living our story alongside all you guys. We're figuring this out together, aren't we? I feel confident speaking to those younger years, but we're all in this together, and we're all figuring this out. It's all unfolding. And so, yeah, I mean, to answer that question, they've been just wonderfully supportive, and they're super proud. Love them.
And I can imagine that as they've watched you work through the hard parts, not just the joyful parts of book release day, and that's a celebration, but the times when it was hard and you were tired and you were struggling creatively, and they've watched you push through that to get to the part where you are able, it's time to celebrate the hard work coming to fruition. That's a really valuable thing for kids to see, that it's not just they who have to do that. Well, while we're saying to them, hey, you need to work hard, you need to do your school, because at the end, there's going to be, a reason for all of this. But for them to see you doing it as well, I think that that's a really valuable thing for them to experience, because that it is a lifelong pursuit, right? Learning and growing intellectually is a lifelong pursuit. That's so right. I love that. I love that story of them being proud of you and being a part of your journey. I cried again. Okay, we have 2 more questions that I'm going to look at. Let's see. What has been the hardest part of the book to write, or to gather your thoughts about?
I think probably the most challenging bits were my high expectations of myself to get everything right. And because I wanted to honor Charlotte's legacy and her story, I was so careful to hold that really well, and with honor and respect, all that kind of stuff. And when I talk about the women that were around her in one of the chapters, I wanted to make sure that even factually that I was saying the right stuff and researching the right, all the little bits. There were so many details that I kept going back on and going, that's not quite right. And so, and some of the research for the book was, spending time at the army, reading through the letters that were written to Charlotte from mothers in the Victorian times who were, I quote one letter in the book, but that was so moving. But also kind of, how do I take all this? So sometimes when you're researching and prepping for a book and writing it, you kind of read a whole book and then you quote one sentence from it. Or you read, you spend days and days researching and you find one letter with 4 lines that you put into the book. But actually, it's the mastering of like bringing it down. How do I share everything I'm feeling and everything I see, bring it down into those few lines that will sit inside that one chapter? And that's what writing is. That's what researching and putting everything into that. And then the editing of that as well. And so that was often hard. Another hard thing was feeling like, I could have doubled the book. Like there's so much more that I want to say, but what is right at this time, and knowing which parts of the philosophy through my coaching and my work, like what are the familiar things that I know people want to hear, people want to learn about, people want to grasp. And so that's what went into the book. I mean, there are so many other things you can read and places you can go to find out about the philosophy, but how, I was like answering the question, what makes this unique? What is the story that I'm telling, and how will this help women for generations to come? And so all that is like, whoa, big things that ends up in this like this. So all that is I don't feel like I struggled with the writing over a particular chapter. It's an overflow of stuff that's been growing in me for years and years and years, but some of those things were hard to grasp and navigate. And they were the times where I'd be like, you kind of like, it can become a barrier. And my husband will tell you that's the times when I can't think about anything else. It's like, nobody's fed. There's no clean laundry. I have got to figure this out. He's a very amazing, patient man.
And you're going down those rabbit holes, right?
Oh my goodness. I can go down. I'm like, come on out, Leah, let's eat.
Okay, we are just about out of time.
What is he saying, Greta?
Well, he's referencing his first comment, which was about your old blog, and that there was a lovely recipe for coconut balls.
He's just written something that says she doesn't even, hang on, let's see. She doesn't. Okay, got you. She doesn't even have time to make.
She doesn't even have time to make coconut balls. But now I'm very curious. He's, piqued my curiosity.
And Dave's been very efficient. Look, he's found a question from Facebook. Thank you, Dave. That's really helpful. Yeah.
So we are almost out of time, or we are out of time. But I just one person wanted to know, will you be doing a book tour in the US? And you did mention about coming to California.
Yes.
So can you just reiterate that for anybody?
Yeah, so I'm definitely in California in April. I'm at the Wild and Free conference, and I will be doing a Modern Miss Mason book event in the LA area. I mean, is that the way to describe it? What's the area? What would
Long Beach, California, but it's near LA and Orange County. So if you're in that area, come see us.
Come and see us. And so I will say that I'm trying to pull together some events in the north, so in Minneapolis, the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, the Twin Cities, and in Michigan as well. And so if they happen, that will be August. But again, everything is taking shape. There's lots of, as you can imagine, there's lots of plates spinning at the moment, and so it's kind of like, okay, let's work on this next bit. As soon as anything is booked and final, it will be up on my website. So if you go onto my website, leahbowden.com, you can see it says tour dates. At the moment, you'll see places. There's nothing you can book yet. We're working on that. That will all be happening soon. But it's honestly, you'll be the first to know. I'll be get on my email list. That's a really good idea, because that's kind of where I'm sending information first. So yeah, well, I'll keep you posted.
Yes. And don't forget, I was going to say don't remember, but no, that's wrong. Don't forget that you can also get info about the conference that Leah's hosting in England in July
1st. Yeah.
That's already up on the website, even though she hasn't announced it. Tickets are there. So there are so many ways for you all to be continuing with the book, and to walk with not just Charlotte, but to walk with Leah, because we're thrilled to do it. We are so thrilled. Yeah. It's been wonderful to talk to all of you, and it's been wonderful to have Dave here in the comments.
I know. And just to say, any of these questions, if they're on the Facebook page, I will go on there and answer them. So I'm going to be, and also I'm on Instagram Lives tomorrow for a few hours. So, there'll be plenty of places to ask questions, but if I haven't answered your question specifically, just badger me and I'll get to you.
She will be around, and we are thrilled about it. So congratulations, Leah. I'm so proud of you. So grateful to have your beautiful book in my hands and in the hands of people around the world. We're so proud of you. And thank you, all of you who came today and hung out with us, or tonight, depending upon where you are.
Thank you.
We are grateful for all of you. So
yes, we are.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to everyone who's watching on the replay or on YouTube or wherever you're watching from. If you want any more information, go to leahbowden.com. And Greta, where can they go and find out about you? Because, author, speaker, amazing woman extraordinaire.
On Instagram, just search for Greta Eskridge, or my handle is Ma and Pa Modern. That's where I hang out the most. So find me on Instagram, Greta Eskridge, and I'd love to hang out with you too and talk about books and all the rest. And
if you want to hang out with us both together in real time, Wild and Free, California.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Congratulations.
Thank you.